Hey guys, this is Impact Hall of Famer Gail Kim, and you are watching the Countdown City WrestleCast.
What's up, heels and baby faces? Welcome to another episode of the Countdown City WrestleCast. I'm your host, JC, and I'm joined this week by Tommy.
Russell, I thought we were talking about video games. Oh, wait, that was a few minutes ago. Never mind.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Okay. I mean, hi, guys.
And, of course, we got Mike.
What's up? I'm Mike. I love wrestling, and like Index, love always wins. Boom.
Okay.
That's actually good.
Wrestling Index, yeah, the wedding that actually worked.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, why was that the wedding that we all got that went fine?
It had to be.
We got to think of all the greatest wrestling weddings of all time. Is that one up there as one of the best ones? It kind of always has to.
Yes.
Yes.
Look, everyone knows my frustration with WWE lately. I can say with absolute certainty that was one of the best segments they had done in a long time.
It really was.
That was easily in the top 5 of their weddings ever. I mean, when homie pulled his jacket open and showed an axe, I was like, okay, this might be the greatest fake or real wedding I've ever been to. No offense, JC, but homie pulled an axe out. I'm sorry, I kind of made it great for me.
Yeah. I'm with you.
What's up, Hollywood? Good to see you again. Thanks. Yeah, sweet intro. Thanks, appreciate it. Jessica, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Whoa, more people.
Yeah.
She's wanted to get back into wrestling some more, and I said, hey, we do a show. So Jessica, hey, what's up?
Well, hope you enjoyed this
everybody.
one. I will definitely say the wedding though last week on NXT, it's right up there with Macho Man Elizabeth and and Stephanie and Stephanie and Triple H, because I don't care what y'all say. That was one of the funniest segments ever with the chapel. You know?
Kind of problematic nowadays, though.
Let me tell a story. Nowadays, obviously, but let me tell a story about that. Is the fact that when that aired, I was a freshman in college, and my roommate, Ward, who's from Lubbock, wasn't really into wrestling, but we were watching it. He was kind of picking it up into it and everything like that. He was dying laughing that whole segment. As soon as the whole drugged and just kind of made her get married through the chapel. And yeah, obviously nowadays it's pretty controversial, but back then it was funny and it got across it really was.
Yeah, so. And in all seriousness, I think there's so many times, even back then watching wrestling, where it's problematic, but you're like, it's so dumb. Like, we know it's like, this obviously would not be able to happen in real life.
Yeah. Like,
even as sleazy as Vegas's reputation is, like a girl who's like literally like this, and
yes,
some guy.
Yes, I really do.
Yeah, I know.
But so here's my thing. I think with wrestling, it's like what should be what's acceptable is really subjective, because so him marrying an unconscious woman is unacceptable, but the Undertaker has kidnapped, buried alive, burned, claimed of murdered, abducted, brainwashed, so many people. But no charges were filed in that regard.
Not yet. How many times during that era of WWE did we have matches where a literal who a woman had to be with was on the line? Because
okay, first of all, we don't have time to make that list.
No,
we really don't.
We don't. Jessica says her favorite was Lita and Edge and Kane wedding so far.
Yeah.
She says, that was pretty intense too.
Yeah, Lita in a wedding dress. That's all I'm going to say.
Any wedding that involved Kane always ended fun for me, because I knew someone was getting tombstone and fire would be involved.
My extreme wedding is Lita in the wedding dress and him right beside her. Is that right?
Okay.
One of those alternate universes right there.
Right.
In Mike's defense, I'm not even the biggest Lita fan here, of course, but I agree.
All right. Let's get into what we are actually going to be talking about today. And, of course, that is going to be a little quick recap of Impact Victory Road. We'll look ahead to Extreme Rules, talk a little bit about AEW Grand Slam, because it's like AEW put their own pay-per-view this week, mixed in 2 days. We're just going to talk about what to expect coming out of that.
They may as well. They have the money at the time.
Yeah. And we might as well discuss it a little bit. The Dark Side of the Ring episode. We've all heard the stories about the plane ride from hell, the fallout from that. There was a lot to talk about. I know we're not going to get too crazy with it. I did see the episode, and quite honestly, there's stuff that happened in that episode that I hadn't already heard before from WWE themselves, to be honest with you, because they did put that in one of their animated shows. But yeah. All right, I think we're back. I see we get some signal.
She slapped me in the face, and I was like, "Well, if you're gonna back it, oh."
Well, I was trying to tell you, dude. If you hadn't pulled the knife out,
There's an axe in my jacket.
All right, if you can hear us and see
enough.
us, let us know. Sorry about all that. I don't know what happened there, but we're good to go now. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. We're talking Victory Road. We're talking about Extreme Rules and among so many other things that happened this week. Let's start with Victory Road. I know none of us really got to watch it all the way through. There is some pretty important stuff that went down on this show. I will note that we picked only like 5 matches that they had announced at the time, and Bullet Club did end up going over Finjuice. Moose and Morrissey did win against Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan. Decay retained the Knockouts Tag Team Championship, and the one thing that I think they've been building to and planning, it's finally going to happen. They confirmed. First, Josh Alexander retained his X Division title over Chris Sabin.
All right, you're just gonna go. I was gonna ask about this, but
Yeah. Christian
Yeah.
Cage defeats Ace Austin. And right after, Josh Alexander comes out. They've been building to this. And there it is. It's going to declare it right now. So officially, as of right now, vacant is the X Division title holder because Josh Alexander has cashed in Option C and will be taking on Christian Cage for the Impact World Championship at Bound for Glory. Perfect stage for this. Now,
Impact.
Go ahead, Mike, because I know Josh Alexander's been one of your favorites, one of your underrated favorites.
I was just gonna say, this is how you build someone up without hot-shotting, without just it's been great, and now you've got Christian Cage, who is a wrestling legend, and I know you got to be like maybe but I don't see any reason Josh Alexander doesn't take this to Bound for Glory and just really step up to that top echelon of Impact stars, because he's been killing. I mean, as much as I thought, I was worried when Ethan Page left to join the family of Pages in AEW. Like he's just been amazing, and I mean, you could literally start. I mean, AEW's into factions, and you could literally start a Page faction, but that's a whole other story.
Maybe down the line that will happen. You mentioned it. The North, such a great tag team, and when they split them up, Ethan Page was killed by Karate Man, was resurrected by AEW. Thank God. But that whole
they do that a lot lately. I just realized that's like the same person. That's like the first person they resurrected.
Maybe they were practicing on Ethan Page, and that's how they got it right with Adam Cole. Who knows, baby?
Also, not controversial to say better than Men of the Year. just saying.
Yeah,
but not controversial, but no.
I want to say we worried a little bit about on the show when Josh Alexander was left behind on Impact. Like, is he going to get lost in the shuffle? What are they going to do with him?
Yeah.
And when they put the X Division title on and he kept winning, it was like they could potentially be building to Option C here.
Yeah.
And I honestly I thought Omega was going to keep it until Bound for Glory and lose it then to some up and coming, and I thought it would have been great. But Christian Cage is not a bad matchup to put a guy over, especially when you consider Cage is technically signed to AEW.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I figured they were building up to that when he won the Iron Man match against TJP. Which, if you still haven't seen that match, that's still when we get to match of the year for this year, that's still going to be in my top ranking. And like I got the G1 started, so I've been told I need to watch it because there are some match of the year contenders already in that. But at current, that's one of my match of the year contenders was that Iron Man match. And this is like kind of involving but not really. But Jade Chung, who's married to Josh Alexander, she has been like tweeting like crazy for her husband. It's just adorable to see. Like she is Josh Alexander's #1 fan. It shows, and I just think it's awesome. I just think it's really sweet that they do that. So
Yeah,
That's cool.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Bernsey, good to see you. Everyone loves Bernsey Hollywood, the Page family, the Page Cage family. All Page, some great ideas here, and if AEW ends up running with that, we know where they got the idea at this point.
I think someone like said they should. I think for like one of the video game screenshots, they put Christian Cage, Brian Cage, Adam Page, Ethan Page in a cage on Rampage, and I said, okay, who had too much fun like coding this? Because someone just said, hey, we need an all age thing. Go do it.
Yeah.
I will do this right now.
Yeah, so I can say from what I've seen from Impact Plus, it's been a good show. It really, for Impact Plus, for Victory Road on Impact Plus, was definitely a really good show. And just for that segment alone, the fact that Alexander just called it out right now on Christian Cage right there, I want this option C. My question, though, is who challenges Deonna Purrazzo at this point for the title of Bound for Glory?
Short of like Trish Stratus or Lita facing her, I don't know. She seems unbeatable. It's like when it's like we're saying whenever we pick her next, you know, she might end up losing. But until then, I give up. I'm done picking against Deonna Purrazzo. I tried it all year and I quit. I'm done. I'm doing the JC thing. Whoever she faces next, I'm just picking Deonna Purrazzo. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even Lita and Trish right now, like they're not beating Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah,
I mean that in the nicest way, but
I mean, no, you're not wrong. It's like because to me, it's like you would leave like someone like oh man, this is why I'm kind of matching some with WWE. Like actual Mako Satomura would be great, like because she would actually be able to do it, and it would be like a 6-star match in my opinion. But it's like, who do you get to beat her? Like. That's why I kind of hate when people kind of crap on women's wrestling because I was like, some of the best wrestling right now is from the women. Britt Baker, Deonna Purrazzo, Bayley until she got injured. They kind of were the strongest ones during the pandemic era. And Deonna Purrazzo, I was kind of sitting on top there for like, it still is now, you know, because like, you know, you had that argument of who had the better title reign. Well, the argument is now solidly in Deonna's favor because she's still champion.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe she just keeps rolling through Bound for Glory. Maybe it's not necessarily one of those things where it's the big show, so the title has to change.
I mean, it could be a Roman Reigns thing. She holds it to like Slammiversary next year.
I mean, yeah, and then,
or until 2 years. You know, I mean,
I don't know if Impact has it internally built up anyone with enough momentum to do that.
Bina just joined us. Hey, what's up, buddy? First of all, Hollywood says DDP is the ref. I'm thinking he's talking about maybe the main event. Or the all Page thing. I just
it's
realized
a Page versus Cage match.
I see what he's talking about. That's great. Ninja thinks Mickey could challenge. Hollywood says Rachel E. I guess Rachel Ellering is what he means. But Brandon wants Tasha Steelz to do it. And
that would be cool.
I think that's a good choice. I think Bound for Glory is too soon for Tasha Steelz. You have to build her up. Yeah, whoever it is, you gotta build them up for months right now to make it.
And like Mickey James would be a great match, but I don't put Mickey James over Purrazzo at this point. I mean, I know it's Mickey James, and I don't mean that.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's like you said. I think it needs to be someone built up with enough momentum.
I think it could be Tasha Steelz if like Savannah helps her do it, to really because Deonna's kind of doing the thing that happened to Bayley. She's supposed to be a heel. But she's too damn good. It's like you stop hating her it's like oh she's a heel. I stopped hating Deonna Purrazzo like 6 months ago. I don't know what Impact's talking about anymore. So it's like that would solidify her as a full face just with the attitude. Or you could have someone like I just had someone in mind. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, but it's like that. It's like she's so good now. It's like she's a heel. She's a heel. Yeah, but is she though?
I mean, it's also the problem AEW has with Britt Baker. Like, she's supposed to be a hit champ, and the fans are just So I agree.
Hollywood could be a shock win at this point. We'll see. Now, the interesting thing to remember about Bound for Glory, I believe they said that when they promoted this, it's going to be taking place in Vegas, and the logos that flashed up were Impact, AEW, New Japan. I want to say AAA as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was AAA.
Yeah, when they started
Yeah.
promoting this. So there's some potential talent coming from outside Impact that could potentially be challenging Deonna Purrazzo. Dr. Britt Baker or Ruby Soho, for that matter, could potentially be challenging, in a title for title type thing. So
But
who knows?
my only argument with that is Deanna's been to Mexico and beaten women down there too.
I know,
So she's
built some storylines up there. That's the point. She's
This is
built.
true.
I think she still holds the Reina de Reinas championship down there. So
Yes.
yeah.
I'm like, okay, so she's kind of dominated North America at this point. So we got to get someone off this continent in order to even try to beat her. It's like she's beaten everyone in North America. We are out of people. I still though want and everyone's saying it. I still want my Deonna Purrazzo Britt Baker match. I don't even care. I don't even care if it's 4 belts anymore. I just want to see that match because they're so good. So
on a quick side note, though, since you mentioned her, does anybody else have Ruby Soho in their head playing all the time since you've heard the song?
yeah,
Every now and then when I'm trying to get through a work meeting, yeah.
Yeah, like, not to go on a tangent, but I didn't really know much about Rancid. I'm not gonna lie, the way that song sounds is not what I thought they would sound like. So
yeah.
it's kind of been in my head since she debuted.
Yeah.
The funny part was I knew about them. I hadn't heard that song yet until all that happened. And I was like, oh, this is a really good song. That is now stuck in my head. That and Adam Cole's theme. And that's only partly because Mikey Ruckus, who does their music on Twitter, asked one time, so does anyone else have this theme song stuck in their head? Or is it just me? And I was like, well, until you said it, I didn't realize it. But yeah, now that I noticed, it's stuck in my head.
Well, as for pick results for Victory Road, Mike went 4-1. Tommy and I went 5-0. Yeah. So
How do I do good and still come in third? What is that?
Tommy and I went 5-0. Pulled the Tez there.
Yeah.
Tez would be so
Was
proud
it
of us.
that I picked Fin Juice, right? That was the one.
That was the one. That was the only one.
Yeah.
And we were all unanimous on everything else. So,
Yeah.
no rating on this
Well,
since we haven't seen the show all the way through. It wouldn't be fair, but there's a little bit more on the horizon. Remember, when we get to our year-end awards, it's actually pretty close running right now for the Tez Award. Whoever has the best pick percentage at the end of the year. So, I can say that all 3 of us here are over 60%. We're all in the running, and it's pretty damn close right now. So
Even with me intentionally bombing ROH the other day.
yeah, even with you intentionally bombing ROH,
Well,
and
no,
still
but
happening
no.
to get one right, mind you. So.
No, because you intentionally bombed, but there was some show we did before that you got like most everything right, and I had like one right.
There was a series
and I was
of
so
shows.
mad.
I think it was.
Wasn't it a New Japan show?
I think it was
Might
a New
have been.
Japan show where you did better than me, and it just crushed my soul. Like to the point I was like,
I just
I don't
closed
even
the
know what
window,
I'm
so I'm not
doing
gonna pull it
anymore.
back up. But yeah, so.
No, it's
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. I don't want to know anyway.
Now, I will note. Let's just quickly shift before we get into Extreme Rules. I want to talk a little bit about AEW and what they have on tap right now for this week, because it is
anything big or anything good coming?
I think they got a lot happening, So,
it's a small little show
Yeah.
in New York, I think. So.
I think a tennis on a tennis court or something. Or...
yeah, Arthur Ashe Stadium, first wrestling show there. No one's ever pulled off a show there, so. And they got something interesting happening here. AEW Grand Slam. It's actually a 2-night event. You're gonna have the first night a part of Dynamite, second night is a part of Rampage. But let's talk quickly about what's going on with Dynamite. Is Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. No title on the line, mind you, unless that changes. But this is sort of a
don't change it yet.
Huh?
Yeah, it won't.
Yeah, don't change it yet. Let's have this one first.
Let's have it.
for
That's
sure.
fine. And I'm pretty sure Danielson's gonna win. Simply because the title isn't
Interesting.
on the line. I just have a feeling right now. If the title was on the line, I might think differently. But with it being a non-title, this is kind of the dream match. And this is what they built to have an Arthur Ashe Stadium as a main event, which is pretty damn cool. I'm just going to say that my instinct says Danielson's going to win. The one I am flipping a coin on, and I have no idea how that's going to result, is Dr. Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. Gosh.
Yeah, because they booked themselves in the corner by her becoming so popular.
I know. But I feel like you can't go wrong with either result, honestly.
No.
You really can't.
No.
So,
Okay, y'all did see their shoot promos from last week, right?
Yes.
So great,
Oh
aren't they?
God, that was
That was
so good.
hilarious.
That was so. And see, that's why I think one reason why they did that was to kind of like gauge the crowd reaction, like backstage. All right,
Right.
who do they love more? And look, after the segment, Tony Khan looked at the Bucks. This solves absolutely nothing. I have no idea who's more popular with this because,
Yeah.
for one, during the Battle Royale, they were chanting Ruby Soho's name before her music even hit. Like, she wasn't
Right.
even there
Yeah.
yet. And they chanted her out of the building. And then when she was in the room with Britt Baker, it was like it was one of the most dead even 50-50s I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
it really was.
I've heard some even 50-50s, and that's right up there with them because they were like evenly split, and even some people were flip flopping back and forth. It's like, where are we? Wrestling fans agreeing? What is this?
We're in
Yeah.
AW. You know, we're in
Yeah.
that's where we are. It's
I-
a different set of rules, it seems, you know?
Yeah.
So
I'm personally looking forward to MJF and Brian Pillman only because I liked how they first set it up. I dig the how they shifted to a new feud. I'm liking how they do that. It's like it's something so simple. He just insulted his hometown. Brian Pillman came out, and that there's your feud. We've seen feuds based on stupider and absolutely moronic things. Actually insulting your home, that I get that. So they have stacked these past 2 days though, like for real.
Also, how is it that from the minute MJF brought out Wardlow, literally from like the minute they brought him out, they have teased Wardlow turning because of the way MJF treats him, and like talk about like slow booking this and letting it simmer. Like, I don't know. I mean, like the minute it happens, Wardlow's going to become like the biggest face in AEW.
yeah.
When he finally snaps and smacks MJF, the pop's gonna be ridiculous.
It is, and he's going to become made whenever that happens.
Yeah,
honestly.
100%. 100%.
I think something like that wouldn't happen until MJF is holding the AEW World Championship.
Maybe.
You know, it could be a couple years down the line with the other things they're building up, but
I mean, talking about long-term booking, but yeah,
I know,
maybe.
but they take their time, and with the year that MJF has had, why not? You know, you can build to this, and
Yeah.
let's face it, he's gonna be a heel his entire career. I can't see this guy ever getting cheered.
He's never. Yeah, you're right.
You know?
He's never not gonna be.
I mean, okay. In all fairness, though, how many people have we said that about one way or the other, and then they wind up turning out to be really good on the other side? Sami Zayn, he could never be a heel. Bayley, she could never be a heel. I mean, for what it's worth.
We said the Miz could never be a face, and he actually was a very entertaining face. I love him.
Yeah.
I think that the
I
difference...
mean, he's obviously. I assume he's better as a heel.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I never say never with some of these things.
I think the difference with MJF is most of the time when you have someone that's a heel, you're enjoying them as a heel, you cheer them. But MJF can make you hate him even if you like him. That's the beauty
Because it's not acting for him.
I know.
I convince you this every week.
I was waiting for him to bring that back up.
Even if it's
He's
not, but
legitimately just an a-hole.
okay,
I
even
think
if he really is an asshole, great. That makes for a great heel. And in this modern day of wrestling, where fans know much about these decisions, booking decisions, it's a special kind of talent to still get people booing you. It's a special kind of talent to be mocking Jericho's entrance at a pay-per-view and getting all that booed and everything like that, and just to be winding up the middle finger, to the crowd. It is hilarious. He still draws heat. It's amazing.
I love how he basically just I love that stipulation was basically just to prove how over Chris Jericho is with the crowd of making them be making the music be quiet and just having the fans sing it anyway. So.
Yeah.
So I'll just run down real quickly. Night 1, Brian Pillman Jr. versus MJF, Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes, Sting and Darby Allin versus FTR, Dr. Britt Baker DMD against Ruby Soho with the AW Women's World Championship on the line, and Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. That alone is a stacked Dynamite, which explains
that's a pay-per-view.
That's a pay-per-view, which explains why WWE seemed to panic and want to put Raw and SmackDown talent together on Raw this past Monday. So then honestly, for all we know, that Raw might have been better than Extreme Rules is going to be this week. So
let's see.
I will give credit. I will give credit where credit is due. From what I did see of Raw, that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed myself. It had
But
been
that's
a
what I
long
mean.
time.
I mean, how long can they keep it up
That's true.
Yeah.
without
I
having
am
to?
nervous. I'm approaching it tentatively.
And well, we can talk about that later. But yeah.
Rampage, Super Click versus Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. Inner Circle versus Men of the Year. CM Punk versus Hobbs. Suzuki
That's gonna be
Goon.
fun.
Suzuki Goon versus John Moxley and Eddie Kingston. I know Tommy's looking forward to that. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Lucha Bros and Santana Ortiz against the Hardy Family Office, and and Butcher Blade should be part of that, right? Yeah. And then Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford. So, great week of wrestling on AEW TV. They just seem to bring it, always seem to improve. And gosh, save something for Full Gear though, man. You guys are booking some great stuff right now. You got to save a little bit for Full Gear.
No, give it to us now.
No, it's gonna be like Kenny Omega and Peter Avalon at Full Gear. They've used all their matches. I'm sorry, Peter Avalon. I don't mean to do
at this point, AEW booking has been so good this year, especially that might turn out to be better than we would actually think it would be.
I mean, Avalon's a great character, and Omega can,
man, Avalon is so funny. He is so funny. I believe he'd make it a great. It'll probably be the best comedy match you'd ever seen. Like for sure.
Hollywood says Britt gets the DQ and retains. Yeah, could see that.
I feel like there might be some of that going on with
shenanigans.
And of course, he's looking forward to the lights out match with Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer versus Moxley and Kingston. So, yep.
I love how like whenever Moxley and Suzuki are just remotely in the same room, you're like, oh good, someone's gonna bleed violently. I love how it's just like we just like, well, someone's gonna die. Everybody, good night to everybody.
Guys, keep talking. I will be right back in like 1 minute. I'm sorry, I got to do something real quick.
Okay.
Just keep talking. I'll be back.
Yeah, but
well,
but like I said, we're going into thinking about Full Gear coming up in a couple of months. I'm not even worried. It's like at this point, by the time we get to Full Gear, it's probably going to be like so we're really gonna have to really figure out what's the WrestleMania, because at this point I'm not convinced it's Double or Nothing anymore.
I can't decide if it's Double or Nothing or All Out. Those are the two biggest.
I know, right?
And that's not to say anything about Full Gear and Revolution, everything else that they do. Yeah. But yeah, those are the two big ones. But still, they always have you. They do a great job booking, getting you looking forward to it. So. Now, with that, let's talk about WWE Extreme Rules. I know, hard transition to what AEW is doing into what Extreme Rules is. And I feel like WWE right now is really not just trying to compete with AEW and all that. They're also trying to compete with last year's Extreme Rules. You got to get better than what happened. Obviously, that was the horror show Extreme Rules. All everyone seems to remember about last year's show is the Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, House of Horrors? I don't even remember.
House of what?
I don't know what it was.
Horrors. He said horror.
Yeah.
Was it the one in Texas? Or?
I have no idea. But I just that I think that might have been one of our worst rated pay-per-views last year was the horror show Extreme Rules.
Hold on. Yeah. What was it? I gotta look it up.
Okay.
I'm looking it up because I gotta remember what the name of that match was.
But this Extreme Rules is interesting, at least as of right now, because the matches seem kind of jumbled together. Obviously, they pushed up the Big E cash in. And by the way, his speech on Monday, paying homage to Brody Lee. Emotional, really awesome. And I'm glad the fans picked up on it there, too.
It was the Wyatt Swamp Fight.
Yeah, Wyatt Swamp Fight. There we go. And it was a weird ending to that. B Ninja, what's extreme about Extreme Rules? No matches hardcore. Well, one is that's it. So, but
mild.
The idea about Extreme Rules is always
slightly more difficult than usual rules.
We got one.
Yeah, this has been the pride product of what was originally ECW One Night Stand. They turned it into WWE One Night Stand, and then eventually Extreme Rules. The idea being that every match will have some sort of random stipulation on it, and so far only one of them really has anything booked. So
and that rule went out the window some time ago.
I don't know.
Well, most of their booking goes out the window the day of the show, so
that's true.
Fair enough.
Very true.
That was a depressingly true statement you just said. That woof. Man, that hurt right around this
Debbie
area.
Downer right here, guys.
Well, 6 matches on the card on this one. Let's get right into it. Liv Morgan versus Carmella. I feel like this one is a battle between two women who need a win at this point to boost something.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Tommy, how do you feel this one's going to go down?
I'm so conflicted because it's like the SmackDown women's roster kind of been getting the shaft lately as far as literally everything, and I can't believe I'm saying that, and I can't believe these words leaving my mouth. The Raw women have been booked better, and that's scary.
And that's a show that includes Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and yes. And
Eva Marie. Let that sink in, everybody. But I don't know.
I refer to her as Dewdrop's jobber. That's how I'm gonna call it from now.
I accept this explanation.
Would have been cooler if we didn't refer to her and there was Piper Niven. But anyways, I digress.
I agree.
Again, I agree. I'm not arguing with you at all. But I think Liv Morgan might take the win here. She seems to be getting more groundswell, but then again, that means nothing in WWE. But I kind of wish this were a fatal 4-way with I almost called it Trinity, Naomi and Zelina Vega. It's like why can't they just be like a 4-way number 1 contenders match? What's wrong with that happening? I don't.
What, you want them to put another loss on Zelina Vega? That's all she does since he returns.
Again, like I said last week, I'm going to warning. Ask for your release because they're wasting your time.
Okay, look, I was gonna say, I kind of do, so she'll be like, get frustrated, leave, and just go to AEW.
Yeah. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Liv Morgan has kind of been on the cusp of ready to kind of step up a little bit. Carmella has really become solid over the last year or two. I don't think a loss hurts her. Not that it really hurts Morgan either, but I agree. I'd like to see Liv get a little bit of momentum going. I think this might be a sleeper hit for this show.
Can be.
Yeah. I mean, if they give them time and just let them have a match, they're both really talented. Like I said, Carmella has really been solid in her role, even when they give her different things, and even with Vince's desire to have the blonde bombshell, like the 4th time he's tried it.
He will never let that go.
You know, she kind of took it and went with it, and you know, she's put on solid matches when she's in the ring. But I'd like to see Liv kind of start getting some momentum because I think she's been ready for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it unanimous. My one fear on this match, you saying that this could be a sleeper hit, is that with everything else going on in the show, if a match needs time cut, this is the one they're gonna try and cut down. If any other segments run over, who knows? And that sucks because I feel like these are two pretty underrated talents that need to showcase what they can do. I'm getting major like AJ Lee Caitlyn vibes where they were just like, okay, you have this much time. It's like, you want to get in trouble? Sure. And they just went off, put on the hell of a show, probably got in trouble backstage, but hey, the fans remember it,
Yeah.
Hollywood says Liv because of the Ruby push. B Ninja, Liv has beaten Carmella multiple times, so build Liv next to the title. And then he says, and does WWE remember Toni Storm? Do they not see her star power in her? Agreed. Where the hell is Toni Storm? She got called up for a reason, right? Hello?
Of course they don't remember Toni Storm. They didn't remember Piper Niven's name. Why would they remember Toni Storm?
Vince never respected her dad, Lance, so I don't see why she would.
Oh, God!
Wrestling names. It's all about wrestling names today.
You say that. Are they going to make her change her name because of Lance Storm? I mean, they made, Rick Steiner's son change his potential ring name because they don't want another Steiner for some reason.
Bone Breaker or something?
Yeah, they don't want any link to Rick Steiner. Like, did that guy do something wrong?
I think Vince must have watched a documentary on Stan Lee where he talks about he just uses the same letter for first and last name so he can remember them. I think that's what we're going to start seeing.
That's
the difference is Stan Lee was a creative genius all the way up to the end of his life, and Vince was a creative genius about to the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have heard this, but it may have been Ruby's been on a couple of podcasts this past week. Apparently, Riot Squad came out of Vince McMahon watching Suicide Squad, and so he thought a squad would be a good thing.
I mean,
That's
it
what
worked
I-
out in the
okay.
end for them, but I had to throw a water bottle over that.
Sure, but yeah.
Yeah. Hollywood, yeah, you can be serious for a minute. Go right ahead, sir. Yes, that question, obviously. Yeah, so
The best part
it's
is
a run.
Lance has such an underrated sense of humor. If you follow him on Twitter, like you wouldn't expect
really
it
does.
sometimes from him, and it's great.
He
Yeah.
really does.
And Brandon is sitting here going off. And Rhea and Nikki got the tag title match before Tegan and Shotzi, who beat Natty and Tamia 3 times.
Okay, I don't, I love Nikki. I'm not a biggest fan of this character, but I get what she's trying to do, and I'm a big fan of.
Rhea.
Sorry, yeah. But when you literally come out and say we're dedicating this match to the Connors Cure kids,
Yeah.
there's no way you can let them lose. Like, I'm not trying to be mean about it, but like Rhea was. I mean, I watched a little bit of Raw and I saw that part, and she was like choking up just talking about it. Like, well, they can't lose. They're winning the titles now. Like,
Yeah.
Well, if you ever really wanted to draw heat for Natty and Tamina, that would have been the way to do it. But yeah,
I mean, obviously
you
the
said.
heat would have been on Vince, but yeah,
I know,
get you.
but you're right. I mean, that made it like an obvious. Everyone can see that was coming. So, United States Championship is going to be a triple threat. Damian Priest defending against Sheamus, and recently added Jeff Hardy. I'm thinking Damian Priest is going to retain. Not sure who will pin, but he seems to be. It's like the beginning of a run with the U.S. title. I don't see him losing it just yet. Mike, what about you?
Same.
Mhm.
I mean, Sheamus has been solid this last year with his matches, even though he
It
keeps
almost
getting
sounded like you said Samus, and I was like, oh wait,
Samus
that's
for
actually
Sheamus.
kind of accurate.
Sheamus for me. I'm picking Damian. No, and then I mean, Jeff Hardy will be popular till he's 95, and people will still be in his wheelchair doing his stuff. So, I think it'll be a solid match.
Full face paint.
But yeah,
Oh
no,
my
I'm
God.
going
It'll
with
still
Priest.
be like, Uncle Jeff, you can't do that. I can do one more swanton. No, you can't.
I've been
Oh,
doing
my
DDP yoga. I can still do it. Yeah. So.
Your knees aren't even real anymore. I don't need my knees to throw myself off stuff.
Grandpa Jeff Hardy's going to be like flinging his wheelchair off of like second floor of buildings and like, whoo.
I see
Tommy,
that.
what are you picking?
It's unanimous. I'm going Damian Priest. I feel like this will be a good match for him to be in, but like there's no point to him to lose not right now. It's like after all the Bad Bunny stuff, which I admit was fantastic. This is just, right guy to kind of get behind right now.
Yeah.
And of course, as we're going along, you guys pick along with us. Let us know your predictions on the matches too. Let's move into the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. The Usos defending against the Street Profits. As far as tag team matches go, this one's had a pretty decent build, I think. But I kind of want to see an upset here, so I'm gonna go with the Street Profits on this. I don't know why they've kind of been off TV for a bit. For them to come back, this would be kind of a huge win for them. They're a very popular tag team, and you kind of want them around because, in a way, they're bringing ratings. They get a lot of fan participation. You want the red solo cups now that you have fans back in attendance. So I'm going to go Street Profits on this one. Tommy, how about you?
Same. For a lot of these, I knew I was going to be kind of going with my heart more than my head, and this was absolutely is the heart pick. Because, I don't know, like, going with the Usos because the whole bloodline thing and everything, but, after the whole, controversy and everything, I still think that they shouldn't have won the tag titles that soon. But I'm hoping the Street Profits will win them back.
All right, Mike?
Well, I hope this is y'all's 1 and y'all's 4-1 or 5-1. I'm going to go Usos. I think, again, connected to the Roman storyline, that they're going to keep him strong for a little bit. I think that it's going to be a great match. That I'm starting to get Uso New Day vibes out of these two teams, where just every match they put on is amazing, which is why I kind of wish this would have been some sort of stipulation match, a cage or something crazy.
A ladder?
To just kind of, or ladder match to kind of add to it. But, and I could be wrong, and maybe this is my one, but yeah, I'm going to go with the Usos to retain.
Noted, obviously on Friday they could add a stipulation to it. We still have SmackDown to worry about, and maybe they'll just announce any randomly thing like they did because they kind of did that with the main event. So
Yes.
we'll see. All right, on to a couple of interesting ones here. The women's championships. First, we'll start with SmackDown. Becky Lynch defending against Bianca Belair. Mike, that look on your face, you almost seem disgusted at this one. So I'll let you pick this one first.
I'm gonna repeat the first half of the joke I put in the chat a while back.
Okay.
I really feel like Seth Rollins is rubbing off on Becky Lynch because I get that she wanted to come back as heel and she was inspired by Roman Reigns apparently, but I think we need a time to cheer her because she was coming back from having a kid, and I like the man, but the weird dress. I really feel like she's being influenced by Seth with his kind of what he's done the last year. And I don't know. I mean, she's still good. I think they're going to put a great match, and I think she's going to win with a little bit of cheating. I think it's going to make Bianca Belair look good. Like when they finally have the full match, she should have beat her, but Becky cheats and kind of continues that more heelish side that she's been showing.
All right. Tommy, what about you?
I'm going Bianca. I'm positive I'm wrong, but I don't care.
Yes. Go with those feelings. Give in to the good side of your heart. I can't change that.
It sounds so wrong when you say it that way. But I'm so sick of this. She had such a good title win. It was such a feel good moment. And SummerSlam sucked. And it's amazing how that just ruins everything that weekend for me. It absolutely killed SummerSlam and NXT for me. I still look back at that weekend very upset. Like, I try to be objective about it, but I can't because that pissed me off so bad.
Well, I mean, we talked about it. That was like a roller coaster of emotions in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Like, you're happy she's back, and then you squash Bianca, and it sucks, you know? So, Hollywood says she's showing off those abs that she worked on to getting back. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, more power to her to have a kid and to come back in the shape she looked in.
Yeah, and that makes every mom in America jealous that they can't get back to that. It's just, you know, it's when you have money.
There's the heat. There's the heat.
There's the heat. Yeah.
Stepdads in America jealous too because I can't get abs. Now, if I tried to get them, I probably could, but that would involve trying, and we all know how I'm not.
Yeah.
Look, Tommy, we have abs. They just happen to be hidden under several layers of.
Yeah, mine are dormant.
Extraneous.
Mine are dormant unless I paint them on. That's basically what happens for me. I'm going with Becky Lynch. She just kind of won the title back. I think they're going to give it a long heel push. You are lone wolfing.
I am broke like Baron Corbin was, so I understand. That's actually fair.
Now, Raw Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair against Alexa Bliss. Charlotte defending against Alexa Bliss. I am picking Alexa. I'm just going to say it right now. If nothing else, this is taking place in her hometown. And
but this is WWE, not AEW.
Damn it! I was going to say that
sorry.
I didn't even hear it. Y'all cut out.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Right, go ahead. You tell him, Tommy.
Uh-huh.
He said this is WWE, not AEW. The hometown person doesn't fit them.
Well, she is going to be over. She always is when they go to Columbus, Ohio. So, and demon gimmick or not. And I'm interested to know how much the Ric Flair controversy around Dark Side of the Ring, which we're going to get into a little bit later, is going to potentially be rubbing off on Charlotte.
That's an unfortunate.
Okay.
Anyway.
How much of the fact that they have Flair in her name, which could she drop the name? How much of the fans?
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
Biggie Langston.
Yeah. Well, how much are they gonna? How much are fans gonna give her shit about her dad from this?
Depends on the city. What city are they in?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus.
If it was Chicago or Philly or New York, they'd probably be unmerciful.
I don't know,
but
Chicago, Philly, or New York. I feel like they would just boo Charlotte regardless.
Well,
true. The crowd's gonna be mercilessly behind Alexa for sure. This is definitely her hometown. So, Mike, where are you going on this one?
You know what? I think this is the one I'm going to be wrong on, but I got to go with you because I got to be honest. I can't stand the character. Like, define irony. Triple H built his life wanting to be like Ric Flair, so much that he formed a team with him. Now Charlotte is apparently trying to be Triple H because she's no-selling everything everyone does or says to her, to the point where you're not giving any credit to your opponent. You know, I saw clips of the Funhouse thing, and Alexa's, whether you like the character or not, Alexa is putting a lot into this character.
Yeah.
So for Charlotte to just no-sell everything, to me, just undermines the whole point of the show. Like we always said before, like guys like Jericho and other ones will always be like, oh, you know, this guy's really good, but I'm going to beat him. You know, like Mick Foley said, if you're just continuously telling us your opponent is crap, well, then when you beat them, you beat someone who was crap. Mm-hmm. And whoever's telling her to do this, wherever it's coming from, it doesn't resonate, and it's beyond just being a heel. Like it gets annoying, and again, whatever her real name is, Ashley Floor, I don't know her. That's nothing personal. It's just as a character, I just can't. Like Charlotte Flair does nothing for me anymore. I don't know. It's the
same old.
So I'm gonna go with Alexa. I think I'll be wrong.
You sound as annoyed as you were years ago when Triple H was constantly winning the titles and everything.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, Tommy, what about you?
Actually, I was gonna go Alexa Bliss too.
I really thought I was gonna be alone on this one. Wow.
I honestly thought I was gonna be either the only one or it's gonna be me and JC. But no, I don't like a lot of things about this. What Mike said, sure. But also, it's like Alexa Bliss has kind of been been hanging around. They haven't done much with the gimmick that they clearly gave her to do something with, and she's been doing great with what they give her, but they don't give her anything. So it's like she's been doing all this great work. She's made it really creepy and everything, and of course there's no bad blood between her and Bray because Bray didn't care. It's like he won. He knew she'd do a great job. Now the fans have been crap, but wrestling fans, what are you gonna do? But it's not her fault of what happened to Bray. He doesn't have a grudge against her. She is an actual sweetheart backstage and everything, and she should win the title now because she's been putting in all this work and effort. And no offense to Charlotte, like you said, I got nothing against her personally. This is what I have to do her like I did with Brock Lesnar. I have nothing against this person personally. I do not know them. I do not like their booking.
But it's also
the booking.
But you also say it that way because both of them could pretty much smear you and beat you up.
This is absolutely true. Like I in no way fantasize I could take a punch from Charlotte any better than I can from Brock Lesnar. I imagine both of them could knock me out in one shot. There is nothing in my mind that says, "Oh, I can take Charlotte." No, I cannot. She is a professionally trained athlete. If she slapped me, I think I'm just gonna go cry at the car. Just like she doesn't do me like that.
The only way I could take Charlotte if I was an Uber driver and I was taking her somewhere because she felt
Yeah, and if nothing else too, Alexa's been moving merch. Those Lily dolls constantly sell out on the shop. So
for sure.
Yeah, they really do. Hollywood, getting back to people dropping their names, let's talk about Matt Riddle. But let's just drop the Matt part and just call him Riddle, right? So
that was so dumb. That was so dumb.
I know.
So dumb.
Okay, I also, speaking of that, the one I sent where Keith Lee has been being repackaged on dark matches, apparently trying to turn him into a heel.
Okay.
And apparently on Monday, he was announced as Keith Bearcat Lee or something like that. So there was the joke that they dropped names of all of a sudden he's going to become Bear Lee because he's barely on TV. So
that's a good joke. I did hear that Bearcat thing might have been his idea. That's one rumor I heard. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I can't.
Also, if what I read is true, there was a old African American wrestler from like the 50s or 60s with the name Bearcat who has been posthumously inducted into the Hall of Fame, and it might be like their homage to that character. But I don't know. Again, also like you said, stuff I read. So
yeah. Hollywood also says they won't let Charlotte top Rick. I'm assuming as far as the number of world championships.
Probably.
Maybe that'll change. Who knows?
I mean, at one point it looked like they were trying to do it in a 3-week window, but
Yeah, very true.
Oh my god, that random title switch was so annoying. Oh my god, I hated that so much.
the best thing that came out of that though was like when New Day came down, and you could kind of hear Big E talking. He was like, "Here we go. By the time we get to our next show or get down to the ring show, it's going to be a 74-time world or something like that." Like, just out of nowhere, it was great.
And all I can think about is, well, was he wrong? I mean, she could have won she could have won another title in between their interest. An Undertaker interest for sure. She could have won at least 3 different title reigns.
It was like the old Goldberg streak where they would come back each week from Monday. It was like he won 42 matches over the weekend. You're like, what? All right, I didn't know you had that many.
How many house shows are you guys running, right?
Right.
Finally, the main event, Universal Championship, which is the only Extreme Rules match on the card, given the pay-per-view's name is Extreme Rules. So, this is the other one where it's basically no DQ street fight, anything goes, yada yada yada. Fall's got to count inside the ring, whatever. Roman Reigns defending against the Demon Finn Balor. I mentioned this last week. As soon as they put this as, an Extreme Rules, no DQ, well, there's your loophole. There's how you cover the loophole that basically there's going to be a winner. To this point, the Demon has not been defeated on the main roster. You guys corrected me that the only person that has ever beaten him was Samoa Joe, but that was in NXT. But since they have brought this character to the main roster, no one has ever beaten the Demon. And I really, really do not want it to be Roman Reigns. I really don't. I know they're really trying to push this whole thing over. Tribal Chief, acknowledge him. If he beats the Demon and acknowledge this, I'm going to be pissed off again. I think a lot of people are going to start hating Roman Reigns for real this time. Not because out of him drawing heat, but in fact they're just going to be annoyed with him like they were when he was a face. So, on principle, I'll go with my heart on this one. I'm picking the Demon. Do not let the Demon lose this, okay? We've waited so long for this character to come back. Let him go off with a win. And I think if the fans are really going to shit on this if the Demon loses, clean, mind you, to Roman Reigns without outside interference. So, Mike, where are you going with this one?
So here's the thing. I don't know if the casual WWE main roster fans have as much connection to the Demon as the people who would watch NXT and knew something about him from his New Japan days. So while I agree, I think it will be frustrating for some people. I don't know if in the bigger picture, especially because Finn had been away for so long. So I agree with you to a certain extent. Also, if it's basically no DQ and he's a Demon, I feel like he should have some sort of extraterrestrial, weapons from whatever Demon universe he's from that Roman can't even handle. Like he needs to bring
Demon Blade. Oh, sorry.
There's got to be some cool sounding weapon he brings from whatever dimension or wherever dark place he's from. But that being said, of course, I'm going to go with Roman Reigns because it's Reigns right now. So
Yeah.
That's my long roundabout way of saying Roman Reigns.
yeah.
But you'd be happy if the Demon won, I assume.
Sure, yeah.
Of course. Tommy, what about you?
Unfortunately, I'll have to say Roman Reigns. Okay. I also want the Demon to win. I really do. I'm of course, long time like what, first generation Bullet Club mark here. Mm-hmm. So naturally I want Finn Balor to win every single match he's in because first generation Bullet Club mark. But it's like you said though, how they building up Roman. It's kind of like it's unfortunately kind of clear that they just want him to be this unstoppable force against everyone, and unfortunately, it's to Brock Lesnar, which will just be like, ugh, how many times do you have to tell this story?
Yeah, I'm not optimistic about my pick, but I don't care. I'm picking anyway. Only because WWE Blood Money, Crown Jewel has already announced pretty much Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar.
I can't believe
I'm calling it Blood Money. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know.
No, I mean, on one of the shows, they were like, if he does get by Balor.
You've already made the advertisements. You've already did the Photoshop work. We obviously kind of know where this is coming.
Also, in Saudi Arabia, they're
Yeah.
they're not gonna want the demon.
Yeah, I don't know how that would respond in Saudi
Yeah,
Arabia.
that you know what? I didn't even think of that part of it. That's a good point.
I mean, I literally was just saying they don't see the demon as big of a thing because they tend to like the bigger. But yeah, that also sure. That's also.
Hollywood Heyman makes the whole Roman character work. Yeah, agree, and that's why the crown jewel match, if it ends up being Roman versus Brock, is interesting. How Heyman's going to fit into that. So, well, that is our preview of Extreme Rules. We'll see how the matches play out. I'll have the details on the show later on. Before we get into Dark Side of the Ring, I just want to point out some news that was announced through a press conference today, and that is that AEW is partnering with the Owen Hart Foundation. We kind of figured this is the direction that was going to happen because some Owen Hart merchandise had started appearing on Pro Wrestling Tees. The money from that was benefiting the Owen Hart Foundation, but they have formally set up a partnership with them. And the interesting thing about that is, if I'm reading this right, they're going to be doing a tournament in Owen's name.
An Owen Hart Cup, basically.
Which is pretty awesome, considering he's famous for winning the King of the Ring and declaring himself the King of Hearts.
Yeah.
You know, among other things that he did in his career. But how do you guys think this is probably going to become like an annual thing, an Owen Hart Cup? And
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
because I heard they're calling the cup the Owen. Is one
nice.
of the things I heard. Yeah. So I mean, annual thing. I mean, and why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I think this is the kind of thing that, you know, had they approached her properly, WWE could have done if they approached it right. I say could have. I'm not saying it's a definite. I'm just saying had the conversation taken place the right way.
if they had taken responsibility for what happened, maybe.
There you go. Like that.
That's really ultimately what it comes down to. Yeah.
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 I mean, if they had approached it as they should have, which they did not.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this also feeds into the whole AEW's not going anywhere, guys, argument that I've been having for the past 2 years. It's like, guys, it's time to accept it.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. If you don't like them, just don't watch. They're not going away.
I don't know how soon they're going to start getting this cup going. I don't know if they said like when they plan to begin
No.
the brackets, but if it's something that starts up next year, early next year, there is one name whose contract is expiring in WWE that rings a bell, and that is who would become Kevin Steen, who famously named his son after Owen Hart.
Which is also why he took the last name in WWE. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So that would be
Oh.
a perfect booking
God.
for that if that's how
That
the route
would-
they go. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, without a doubt. But also, this means that there hasn't been Owen Hart figures and merchandise since his passing. Yeah, because he had figures when he was in WWE, but AEW is going to have the right to make Owen Hart figures. Put him in. It sounds like they're going to be putting him in the video game. All that kind of stuff that WWE, hasn't had the right to do.
Yep.
In a long time. So, I think it's good, and I think it's really refreshing of AEW to care so much about wrestling's history and these things. I mean, WWE has been the Goliath for so long that it's really hard to have something happen that's not affected by them or happen in WWE. And so you were kind of always afraid that because it never worked out between WWE and Owen's wife and the foundation and stuff, that he was just never going to get the proper recognition he deserved. So it's kind of nice to see AEW, who has the financial stability and that kind of thing, to be able to do something like this, because he really was such an underappreciated wrestler in his time.
yeah,
And it's one of those things that, like, he would thrive in some of today's wrestling, in an AEW environment, in an X Division environment. He just had the kind of wrestling ability where he could have thrived against any kind of competition. Like he was so well rounded, and it sucks that we didn't really understand it as much until we got older. And really started following wrestling in a bigger scale. So
back to the previous Roman versus Brock. Hollywood says Heyman on a pole match. That'd be hilarious. Just to see one of them
If
pick
Vince
up.
Russo was still there, that match would have already happened.
yeah, I don't want to see Heyman dancing on the poles.
No.
Just
Oh God.
Anyway,
No.
back to this. I'll say this is great to see Owen's name out there. It opens his name back up to a new generation of fans that never got to see him, never heard of him. At this point, all they knew about Owen Hart was that he passed away from a bad accident. They did a Dark Side of the Ring episode about it, and he's probably never going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And after watching that Dark Side of the Ring episode, I understood his widow's perspective. I had for a long time. I had for a long time says, let bygones be bygones. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But after watching that episode and watching her side of it, hearing her side for the first time ever, I understand her position, and I don't blame her for not being a part of that. But I'm glad she's allowing this to happen, and I think she wouldn't do this if she didn't think they would treat his name badly. So I'm really looking forward to see how they invoke his name and how the Owen Cup plays out as well.
I do think I was gonna say like a few things about this. I did read one thing was possible that made this decision was kind of like with CM Punk, how AEW handled Brody Lee being sick and how they kept it in the company, and they were working with everyone like, hey, let's just keep this quiet until we know what's really going on. Was one reason for the decision. I'm sure Mark Henry and Jericho played a huge part in this. Speaking with her, because especially Mark Henry being such a good Owen, but can you imagine if they make an Owen Hart action figure? Can you imagine how fast that damn thing will fly off the shelves?
Yeah.
Like you think Kenny Omega and the Bucks are hard to find in AEW action figures? Can you imagine if they ever found an Owen Hart one?
Don't be surprised if they do an Owen and Brett action figure, because Brett did appear in the very first episode, very first AEW pay-per-view as well. So I wouldn't be surprised. I
also have an odd question, and I don't know how this would work exactly. Can they make figures of him in gear he wore in WWE?
Technically, yes. Because his widow owns his image rights.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
I mean,
I think she owns his IP. So because I'm looking at some of his shirts right now, they still have him in some of the King of Hearts singlets and everything.
Yeah.
So I think so. Yeah.
He had his gear made. He wore the gear. Obviously,
right.
WWE has the rights to the video library, anything he appeared in on WWE television. If he would have been in WCW, they would have had that as well. So they own that. But as far as intellectual property, producing shirts with his name, action figures, any of that, anything that he wore, that is entirely her intellectual property. And so she decides who gets to make stuff with that.
And one more thing with that, I think it also works that way because do you remember the first time they did the Bret Hart DVD? Back in the day, like 2007. If you look at the DVD, it says Bret Hart and WWE presents. So he had to he actually had to give his consent to put that out.
Yeah.
So I think it works something similar like that. It's like you said with the video library, they own that, but with the image rights, as far as what goes on a toy, his likeness, blah blah blah. It's AEW at this point. I think they'll find their lawyers will be like, oh no, we'll find the loophole. Don't worry, we got this covered.
Hollywood, she could be doing this an FU to WWE. That's possible.
Probably.
Probably, considering her anger, and I don't blame her honestly. But still, she's also doing it in a way to finally honor her husband in wrestling.
Yeah.
And up until now, she's never fully had that opportunity, and now I think she does with the right company.
I think the closest thing she had was the cauliflower. I think, and she let that happen because I think one of her biggest deal was that they have an actual Hall of Fame, like you could visit.
Yeah.
And WWE never had that, which I didn't realize until I had heard her say that in an interview one time that was one of the main reasons she never let them do that. They didn't have a physical Hall of Fame, and I said, wow,
they don't. Honestly, the only time you ever see any physical Hall of Fame is if you go to Access WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah,
that's the only time. Yeah,
which also makes no sense.
It doesn't. It's
because
they don't have the money.
Why do you think people would not go? It would, especially if you put it in Orlando or some one of those places where
Chicago.
Yeah, you can put it in Chicago.
Put
But
in
just any of those
Connecticut.
big places.
I
Yeah, I mean, you
I'd visit
could.
Connecticut to see it. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
you know.
But I just feel like one of those bigger cities where you're already getting people come in, like Orlando, you're getting all the Disney, Universal people,
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
fair.
that. Like, why would
I
you
get
not
what you mean.
add that?
Yeah.
When I went down, when I went down there a couple years ago, I actually one day went to go just find out where the performance center was, just because it was like I knew that was in there. So Hall of Fame, heck yeah, I would have been there.
All right. Well, let's segue into Dark Side of the Ring. We mentioned it with the Owen Hart thing. This,
Good boy.
yeah, this kind of made the news. If you hadn't heard already, obviously, if you've been a wrestling fan, you know about the plane ride from hell. And for the record, Jim Ross said at the very beginning of this episode, Dark Side of the Ring, this is the last time I will ever talk about the plane ride from hell. And I don't blame him because it was a clusterfuck of a thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, these stories have been out there. WWE famously made this on one of their animated shows on WWE Network, where they
WWE storytelling
with Ric Flair coming out in a robe, naked, and in not so many words, doing the helicopter, if you will. But this episode is available for free on YouTube, by the way. So if you want to, watch it.
They put that thing out real quick.
Yes. Now, obviously, since this has come out, the biggest story out of it was an alleged sexual assault that Ric Flair had on one of the flight attendants, who they did interview for this show, and how that happened, supposedly, and some of Tommy Dreamer's comments on the episode that has since gotten him suspended indefinitely from Impact Wrestling and also off of Busted Open Radio. He's not going to be appearing for the foreseeable future. My understanding is also that Ric Flair was scheduled to potentially be making appearances for AEW. I think Tony Khan is smart enough not to allow that to happen at this time.
Yeah.
So now I'll let you find the episode and watch it, but obviously, if you don't know the story by now, this is back when WWE was still technically WWF. They had flown on a European tour. There was the Insurrection pay-per-view in London. Everyone's hype. They charter a private jet, a huge Boeing. I mean, it's fully a private jet. There's like sofas, whatever. The whole thing is pretty much first class. And the flight gets delayed for 7 hours because of weather issues in Connecticut. So they go through 3 full carts of liquor, because what a wrestler's going to be doing back then is sitting there drinking and everything like that. And a whole bunch of shenanigans happened. Kurt Hennig was on there ribbing Brock Lesnar. Michael Hayes gets his ponytail cut off by X-Pac when he's asleep. And, of course, the Ric Flair thing seems to be the biggest story out of this. So, now, the Tommy Dreamer comments, I did watch the episode. Did you guys see it at all or no?
I've seen no, not the whole thing. I've seen the clips of Tommy,
Okay.
of what he said, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's seen the clips. They've seen the clips of Rob Van Dam talking about it. I've watched the whole episode. I think where Tommy Dreamer got a bad edit is, yes, the comments sounded pretty bad, but it's also because they edited them in right after they showed the little reenactment or the discussion about what Ric Flair allegedly did to the flight attendant. Now, I say allegedly because, yes, she did sue over that with WWE. They settled out of court because settlements are always about, well, the damage has already been done. Let's just pay to keep your mouth shut, basically. That's really what it's about,
Yeah.
And Flair, for his part, has said multiple times, and they did note this in the episode, that he has said multiple times he denied anything happened, and he actually did feel the need to do this again. He did put on Twitter, I'm waiting for it to load so I can read it here, a little statement here. He just basically came out and said, every person that I've worked with has said not to post response, but I've never run from my past behaviors before. I'm not going to start now. I want to clarify a few things. About 4 years ago, I gave ESPN full access for my life for a 30 for 30 special. They cover taxes, financial issues, adultery, divorces, the passing of my child, and drinking partying at length. Rory Camp, desperate to matter for another 15 minutes, did an interview about it this morning. When Rory's lips are moving, he's typically lying, but one part of what he said was the God's honest truth. I'd never heard, quote, I'd never heard that he forced someone to touch his genitals. Everything with Rick that was construed as negative, I tried to address in the 30 for 30. His drinking, his philandering, his adultery, his money problems, there's quite a bit. But never, at least in the people that I spoke to, no one ever brought up that he would force himself on somebody. I allowed my personal life and the lives of my wife and that end quote. Rick goes on to say, I allowed my personal life and the lives of my wife and children to be turned upside down for one reason. Whether it's good or bad, even the really bad, the truth has to matter, even in wrestling. My issues have been well documented over my 40-plus year career. The impact of drinking too much, which nearly killed me 5 years ago, has been told time and time and time again. The reason Rory, or anyone for that matter, never heard stories of me forcing myself on anyone is simple. It never happened. Now, on the episode, Rob Van Dam seems to confirm that he saw Rick there trying to force the flight attendant to do something. But he clarified actually in a statement saying there was creative editing there, but from what I've known Rick, I never would have known him to force a woman to put their hand in, like touch him inappropriately. So, and I think in Tommy Dreamer's case, I think he was defending his friend. His words might have come out a little bit wrong though, and I think that's partially the editing. I don't know. It's a slippery slope with Tommy Dreamer. I think I don't know if he deserves the heat he's getting, but it's out there. It's the cancel culture right now. Either way, sexual assault is not something to be taken lightly. And the problem is, back then, it was. And if Tommy Dreamer had said it back then, it's not makes it right, which he kind of did in a roundabout way. That's really what it was. I mean, these guys basically escaped punishment when you think about it. Yeah. And they even asked Jim Ross, who was the head of talent relations and was on that flight, why didn't Ric Flair get punished for that? And he said he was a made man, and Vince didn't want to punish him. Yeah. Having heard some of this, your guys' thoughts on, we've heard the story many times as fans, longtime fans, but your thoughts on the fallout from this episode, and if you're watching this, if you have any thoughts on it as well, by all means, go right ahead. So,
I don't know. I mean, we've heard the stories for a long time. I think that, like, kind of similar to what you just said, that the problem is there's a whole laundry list, and this is just because it came out on an episode, but there's just tons of things over the years where you've heard stories of wrestlers, especially from the 80s and all that were just kind of horrible people, and the way they treated women and stuff like that, that was just kind of in their circles considered okay. I don't have an issue with any of the fallout that came out of it. The WWE for a long time, or Ric Flair himself, have always put himself as a world traveling ladies man who would just get out. And even in that video we're talking about, the cartoon, where it's called Storytelling, I watched the clip the other day. He's basically talking about how he was on this big thing and all the flight attendants wanted to see Ric Flair in his robe, and so he had to take it off, and then he basically ends it with like, well, I can't tell you what happened there, but you can. I mean, it's kind of always who he was, and if now's the time to kind of come home to roost for that, I mean, I can't blame them. Mm-hmm. Tommy Dreamer, again, whether you're defending your friend or not, to dismiss the person who filed the charges, the flight attendant, it just doesn't come off well. Mm-hmm. So I can't really say I have any bad feelings toward the fallout of it. I mean, a lot of these people made decisions, and even though it was a long time ago, I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I think there is. It's been over 20 years since this supposedly happened, and I don't know what the statute is, but it's possible it could be.
I don't mean legally. I mean,
yeah, but yeah, in the court of public opinion, you mean?
I mean, if you did something wrong back then, I don't think, whether it's legal or not, I don't think there's a problem with you being called out. Like I don't think it's just cancel culture. I think kind of like with the Me Too stuff, like people are allowed to get away with things for a long time, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with them being called out for it now, even though they weren't called out back then. I don't see a problem with it now. I mean, if it was you did something wrong, you did something wrong, especially along those lines.
Great.
Yeah.
Tommy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess it's like it's being a fan of guys like Dreamer and Flair. This sucks because it makes that kind of that's because that's not okay. We have known guys personally who got called out during the speaking out movement. That happened. Around this time last year, and some of those guys are guys who I considered friends, and it's like you hear all this stuff, and it's like that's terrible, and and if you did this, man, you got to pay for it. It's just a fact because my thing is it's like to me it's like this. You're grown, you make your own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite sayings that I've heard in like the last few years is, "We are free to make any choice we want. We are not free, however, of the consequences of those choices." And sometimes those consequences catch up with us later. Now, for this kind of thing, I don't think it's just cancel culture. Because to me, cancel culture is when people nitpick about stuff. Like when people said something years ago that was like can be construed as not. I won't say like that as because like homophobia and racism, that's one thing. But when you're saying something that's just like that was just stupid to say. That was just stupid. And some people are just younger and they put everything on the internet because we were younger and we were stupid then. I'll probably be canceled someday. Anyway, it's my overall point is I'll be canceled someday. I have no idea what I said on Twitter 10 years ago. So, but in this case, to me, it's kind of like it's fallout. Now, of course, we have to keep using the word allegedly because he said, she said, and the reason why I think we have to keep saying allegedly is because lest we forget the whole fallout that Will Ospreay got for something he never did. I mean, and yeah, there's court cases that took place. There were lawsuits that were settled.
Enzo Amore is another example.
Enzo Amore is a great example.
Yeah.
And it's like yeah. In some cases, the person didn't do it. In some cases, they did. In some cases, they're more severe than we knew of. This is all true. I'm not saying this excuses Ric Flair or Tommy Dreamer for what he said at all. All I'm saying is, this is, what makes me think of. Do you remember the scene in Men in Black, the first one, where Tommy Lee Jones is talking to Will Smith? He says, like 100 years ago, everyone knew the Earth was flat, and then everyone knew the Earth was the center of the universe, and then he said to him, and 15 minutes ago, you knew people were alone on this planet. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. It's like right now we know Ric Flair did this, and and without question we know what Tommy Dreamer said. But what if in a week, a year, or 6 months, or a year, we know some other details? So I'm saying if Ric Flair did it, I'm a fan of him as a wrestler. If he's that kind of person, he's a crap person. Bottom line.
Yeah.
If Tommy Dreamer said it the way we all consider that he meant it, love him as a wrestler, crap as a person. That's the bottom line. It's the same way I feel about I hate to use this as an example, but it's a fact. But Chris Benoit, loved him as a wrestler. I just my heart can't forgive what he did at the end of his life. I'm sure he had some underlying issues, and it was a tragedy all the way around. But it just makes me not like what he became later in life, and
Yeah.
But if this is the case, and this is why I'm careful not to jump too quick on the bandwagon of do this, do that, do that, because what if we know something different tomorrow? What if a Dark Side of the Ring producer admits, okay, we fudged some of the editing to do this on purpose to get more rating. I mean, not that that'll happen, and I'm not saying that's what will we know tomorrow.
Yeah, there's already been some stuff that's been disputed. Jonathan Coachman has said he was also on that flight, and he recalls that Vince and Linda were not on that flight, even though the episode made it seem like they were. But he can confirm they were not on the flight.
I thought that even got clarified more that he was wrong later, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of he
But,
said, she said. It's always that. There's three sides to every story. There's one side, there's the other side, and then there's the truth. So, but either way you look at it, sexual assault's not a laughing matter.
No, it's not.
I would
No,
hope
not
that
at all.
anyone that has ever gone through that, male or female, reports it. Please. Regardless of what your circumstances are, it's something that should be criminally punished if in fact it did happen. So, I don't. There's a lot of this has been a great series. I do enjoy the Dark Side of the Ring series.
Yeah.
And as much as we love wrestling, there is for lack of a better term, a dark side to its past.
Yeah.
This is one of the darkest points of it, but excuse me. And unfortunately, sometimes money just kind of sweeps things under the rug. And the interesting part about it is I actually just binge watched and finished watching because the last finale of it was this show, Burden of Truth. If you're not familiar with it, it actually just finished airing on the CW, but it was a Canadian broadcasting corporation TV show starring Kristen Kruk, who plays a lawyer, and she's part of a corporate lawyer, goes back home and is dealing with lawsuits. Well, the last season of it, the fourth and final season, it dealt with a woman or a girl that was sexually assaulted, and they sued the person that did it. He had some deep pockets, or who alleged led the ring that did it. And all it was a settlement, but when she realized she had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and this guy was never going to get punished for it outside of paying a monetary value, she didn't want to do it. Because what's the point? He's going to get away scot-free, and she can never discuss what he did. So, but that is that was like just a microcosm. It was very indicative of what was going on here, is that these bad things happen, and sometimes all you try and do is just pay it off so that nothing ever comes of it. You just get money to just hush money, if you will. So, but it's one of those things. I invite you to watch the episode and then do some of your own research, read some interviews from other people that have followed up, people that were not interviewed on the show, and form your own opinion based on that. In the case of Ric Flair, I think it's going to be a while before we do see him on any TV.
Yeah.
And Tommy Dreamer, maybe not as long. But it'll be a little while before we see him back on TV. But I understand why he's not on TV now, but I hope it's not too long. I think it was just a matter of him trying to defend his friend, thinking in his mind his friend would never do that. I'm not saying he's outright denying that his friend did that. He probably is in a way, but I think that's what he was trying to do. And maybe through the magic of editing, it got a bit misconstrued. But still, his comments were wrong given the circumstance. But sometimes with these interviews, I feel like you need to see the entire unedited interview. Reason I bring that up because years ago, John Cena did an interview. They were talking about steroids in wrestling, steroids in sports. They had a long interview with him. And I forget what news station it was, but they spliced in certain answers the way they asked the question.
Yeah.
And he was also recording, and he released the full interview so you could see what his answers were in the context of it. And I really hope that more documentary and news stations actually do that as well. So,
Foley talked about it in one of his books one time. He was like on 60 Minutes or something because they were doing it was back in the heyday of the Attitude Era, and they were talking about the violence of wrestling and the drugs and sexual, type references. And he talks about how they did one where it was like they showed him some move or something, and he was like, "Well, that's not as bad as you would think." And then when you saw it live, it was like a chair shot or falling through a ladder. They put a different clip in the actual show they aired, and then his response, "Oh, it doesn't look that bad," and he was real upset about that because. Same reason, he was taken out of context. So that does happen too.
Yeah, it might have been 60 Minutes as you were mentioning too. I think about it. So, Hollywood mentioned the 30 for 30. Stories will change over 20 years as well. Definitely. I mean, these guys have been hit in the head so many times you can't remember everything that happened 20 years ago. Scott Hall was also on that flight. He doesn't remember a damn thing because he thinks someone might have spiked his drink and he passed out. So, but yeah,
I don't think Scott Hall remembers a lot of the late 90s.
Probably not. So.
Just honestly,
he had his demons. Yeah, there's not a lot he remembers, and he would probably agree to that. So, Well, with that, we'll move into what is on tap for this weekend. Obviously, this week we'll all be looking forward to AEW Grand Slam Wednesday and Friday. But on Sunday, September 26th, in Columbus, Ohio, at the Nationwide Arena is WWE Extreme Rules. Starts at 7 p.m. Central Time with the kickoff show starting at 6, and it will be on the Peacock Network. Hopefully, this is a better show than it was last year.
Please God. Oh, and
I apologize. I kind of skipped over the 1 minute warning. Did
Sorry.
you guys want to mention anything at all, or no?
one thing I had was like there's some other shows happening this weekend. I just wanted to mention them real quick.
Okay.
Because
Whenever you're ready, set,
go.
go.
Yeah. Okay. BOW will be at the. I had the address just like here it is. The Urban Yard Bar on this Friday, September 24th. Dog Pound Dojo champion. They have their own championship wrestling now. They will be at the Woodlawn on this coming Saturday for
Nice.
Strictly Business. I am still hopeful that I can make it, but New Japan will be in Garland for Saturday and Sunday for Autumn Attack. Only reason I'm saying I'm hopeful is, of course, because I am a working man, and money is the thing that I currently don't have a lot of. So I'm still hoping to make it to that. I will definitely be at BOW. I'll be working the camera. If I'm not in Dallas for the show for Autumn Attack, then I will be at Dog Pound on Saturday.
Very cool. Thumbs up or thumbs down. How good was RCW this past weekend, by the way?
Oh, thumbs up! It
Yeah.
was so good. It's great to see Khan of Shane Taylor Promotions as a singles wrestler. He is just as brutal on his own as he is with the team. Shane Taylor has a stacked roster of a unit, dude. Oh man, I want to see like multiple man tag matches with Shane Taylor Promotions just fighting everybody now. I just want them to just go in every promotion and just beat up people.
Mike, did you have 1 minute warning this week?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Ready, set, and go.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned earlier when talking about the Owen Hart thing and how very similar to Punk, they were impressed with the way AEW handled the Brody Lee situation. I also want to talk kind of on that with what they've done for his son, -1, which I think just embracing him, because his wife went on the AEW Unrestricted podcast a while ago, and she was finally ready to talk about it, and just talk about how they've embraced him. And I think it's really cool for him because he's been able to be on the show for a while when everything first happened. He's in their new mobile game as a character. They showed the video of the mom showing him that. And then also, like, he's really close with the Dark Order, like him and Ty Conti and Anna Jay. So, like, I was watching Dark earlier, and he was able to come out again with Anna Jay and Ty Conti for Ty Conti's match. And I just think it's great the way that locker room embraced the family, embraced the kids, made them feel like there's always people there for them. And that's just got to be like, having gone through that tragedy of losing your dad, to have all those people there and to be able to kind of be in like what you're really passionate about and have that all around you. I just think that's really cool. And I just want to shout out AEW for the way they've been handling most of their stuff with situations like that.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Every time I see him with Anna Jay and or Ty Conti, I'm like, that kid has more macking skills than I have ever had my entire life, man.
I mean, I know it's like, they're taking care of him like no. But I think so too. Like, do you ever think he just goes like, he's like in middle school or something, and the girls are like, hey, and he's like, yeah, you're cool, but take Conti or Anna Jay, just.
Yeah, you're cool, but you're not a 99.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My standards are pretty high right now, so yeah.
Dude, my favorite joke is by the time he actually is 18, he's gonna have more wrestling experience than anybody at that age level coming into pro wrestling.
Very true. I don't have a 1 minute warning this week. I just briefly want to say the G1 has been announced for New Japan. I know Tetsuna Ito is going to be replaced. He is just pulled out due to injury. But I am going to say that I fully expect it to be Toriano versus Jeff Cobb in the championship. I believe they're on different blocks, and I would love to see that.
Both of you. I hate.
I'm just going for Cobb, so that's.
Well, we'll probably discuss it before it gets started, but I think it's a pretty decent lineup, and I just love the fact that they got Toriano on the poster for it. I was like, oh, hell yeah, the king of pro wrestling is in the G1, as he should be. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. So
if he's even in the top 5 of his block, I might just drive to your house and just punch you. And
he's going to win every match by cheating in one way or another. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So. I mentioned the details on Extreme Rules. As for us, next week we will be recapping Extreme Rules. And then we're also going to be discussing this little bad boy right here, the PWI 500. Pretty tough list that was put together. I'm very happy with who the number one. I'm pretty happy with the top 10, to be completely honest with you. And
actually, top 10's pretty good.
Yeah, so we're going to discuss that in detail. Definitely join us, because obviously this is one of the lists that comes out every year that everyone has their opinion on in wrestling. And those of you watching, you know you do. You know you have one, so join us live. So, Brandon, I'm looking at you.
Wow.
I know Terry does too.
Yeah.
I really hope Terry can be on. I want Terry on the show one week that we can just hear him live talk.
Yeah. Again, Twitter account ccg_WrestleCast. Look and our here on the Countdown City Geeks YouTube channel. Thank you everybody for watching us live. We do appreciate it. And if you're watching us later on, feel free to comment. Let us know your thoughts on Extreme Rules this weekend and your thoughts on the PWI 500. Hollywood, thanks again. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate everyone watching. B Ninja, Jessica, Bernsey. Appreciate all of y'all joining us this week. We do enjoy doing this. It's fun. A little stress relief, and I'm ready for some cooler weather. Thankfully, that front moves in tonight. So
yes.
Sure.
I'm JC, joined this week by Tommy.
Thanks, guys.
We also got Mike.
Thanks, guys. Be good to each other.
And as always, heels and baby faces, remember, pro wrestling is real.
People are
fake.
fake.
See ya.
Boom.